a few channels, but let's start off with some intro music. Let's just kind of get into the flow of things. I'm with CJ. How you going, man? What's happening?
I'm good, thank you. It's pretty amazing to be here. We met only about 10 minutes ago. I know a lot of people say that, but literally it was 10 minutes ago. You invited me into your home, and thank you for that.
No worries. The pleasure's all mine. So today's podcast is going to be a little bit different. I've come back from a bit of a break, and I've just kind of sent the message out. I've got CJ on the line. We're doing the podcast right now, and it's all... Your favorite band is Bare Naked Ladies, right?
The Bare Naked Ladies, that's right. So I'm a big fan of them. I'm glad that you, set it up by saying my favorite band, because when I say that, it makes me sound like a pervert. So yes, little Canadian institution there, BNL.
Dead right. And so for people that are listening, maybe they can detect an accent. I don't know, but you're not from Australia, and you were born in Canada.
That is exactly right, which partly explains why I love the Bare Naked Ladies so much. Yeah, but Melbourne's my second home now, and really my only home by default, because planes aren't allowed to fly anywhere. So I'm not going to be going back to Canada anytime soon, but Melbourne's a great place to be in. So been here for about 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And it's just been absolutely amazing. The city's amazing. The people are great. The opportunities abound. It was a very good place to be locked down when it happened, and it's a very safe place right now in the world as well. So I'm very lucky to be here.
Thank you for sharing that. And in the spirit of coming back to the Christian Buddy Show, I've got a trivia. I've got a Canadian trivia.
Ooh!
So I thought we'd just throw it out there. Just something in the mix. Just give it a bit of an applause there. So. All right. So, which Canadian city is considered Hollywood North?
Do you have a boo button as well, just in case? In case I really do badly at this.
I might have a boo button as well.
Just set it up all bad. Hollywood North. All right. So I'm reckoning it's either going to be Toronto, which is where I'm from, or Vancouver, because a lot of stuff gets filmed in Vancouver, I know.
Sorry, if you guess Toronto, it's actually Vancouver.
Vancouver, sweet. That was my backup answer, so there we go.
All right, cool. Let's test out the software here. So, all right, that's cool.
It's like a half point, right? Seeing as it was my backup point or whatever. It's kind of a pass.
I'll give the point on that one. And how many points does the maple leaf on the flag have?
Oh, I wish I wore my Blue Jays cap, because I could just look at myself in the camera for reference. 9?
I thought you've seen the flag before, or
Yes, and it's in the is it right? Was it 9 points?
All right.
Oh no, is it 10?
One more.
11?
Yeah, it's 11.
Oh, jeez. I'm a bad Canadian. My citizenship's going to get revoked.
Yeah, it's like I'll put you under a bit of pressure at the moment, and I thought, what about which Canadian chain first opened in Hamilton in 1964?
Whoa, which Canadian chain opened in Hamilton first in 1964? It's not Zellers?
It's the Canadian Classic.
The Canadian Classic. All right, never even heard of it.
Where is Canada's most visited national historic site?
Niagara Falls?
If you head over to Halifax, Nova Scotia, you can visit the Halifax Citadel National Historic Site of Canada.
Oh no, I've been to Nova Scotia, and I did not do that. We just went to the bars, so this is clearly... The Canadian school system's failed me right now. That's what I'm going to blame this on right now. I think I'm 0 for 4 right now.
Damn, all right. No, I think you're on 3-1. No.
Okay. I'll go with that.
We'll go with that. I can't do the math at the moment, but which city hosts North America's largest single-day parade?
Which city hosts Canada's single largest day parade? Would it be Calgary?
It's the Carabiner Parade in Toronto.
God damn it! All right.
Well, I think we better send you back home, man. I don't know if you know the answers, man. Are you really Canadian?
Yeah, it gets you a lot more cachet than saying that you're American. So, but I know a lot about the Bare Naked Ladies. I just don't know anything else. I can tell you a lot of obscure pop culture and sports facts about Canada, but when it comes to history or geography, I'm very bad. Those are my worst subjects in school.
that's all good. My geography's not that good as well. And speaking of bare naked ladies, we've got a bit of a music request on the line here. This is just a cover. This is not an actual.
It's not them originally playing it.
All right, because of the copyright, and I can't put that sort of stuff up there. So I don't know.
Good song. This is off of Born on a Pirate Ship, which was their third album. It's actually one of my favorites. This guy does a pretty good job, actually. Is this when you tell me it's you?
That's not me. It's not me.
You got me live on air! So when you listen to this, I'm turning it around on you, but like, what are your thoughts of the band? Because I'll tell you, the reason that I started this podcast, it's kind of, I didn't even say that I do a podcast. So yeah, Bare Naked Ladies are one of my favorite bands. And I started a podcast in lockdown with one of my best friends back home. And it all started because I was sitting around with my wife and my brother-in-law who lived with us at the time. And, we were playing board games. We had a playlist on the speakers. And a song came on and he's like, "Oh, is this the Bare Naked Ladies?" And I said, no, it's X band, whatever it was. And then I remember he just said, which blew my mind, he said, "Oh, right, that other one-hit wonder band," implying that the Bare Naked Ladies are a one-hit wonder. So
yeah, okay, it makes sense
because everyone's probably heard of 1 Week, massively, right? And also they are the people. Well, also they are the ones who actually do the theme song for The Big Bang Theory. So that's how a lot of people would know them too. But back home in Canada, they've got 15 studio albums. So, but the conception or the association with them is as a one-hit wonder just because of that one song. So I'm like, no.
When did they start? Did they start in 1991?
They did, yeah. 1991 is when they started. And they've got longevity. They've had only 2 personnel changes. So like in that history, only 2 people have left the band and been replaced. So that's pretty amazing.
Okay.
So yeah, we just started this where it's a podcast that we do. We just go through each album chronologically, so album by album. Each episode focuses on one, and we're up to episode 11 actually. So we're running out of stuff soon. So we're gonna have to. They either have to make more music, or we're gonna have to figure out a new hook.
Yeah, right. Okay. But speaking of your podcast, I've actually got a snippet of your podcast on the. So it's over here. What's the best thing about making a podcast?
Oh, probably connectivity. I think being able to reach out to anyone, anywhere in the world. I also think accessibility too. I think it's such a art form that anyone can do. So, and I think it's the same with YouTube and various other different types of social media now, where previous generations or even us growing up, you didn't think that you could make a TV show or you could be on the radio. It would be something where it would, it just seemed like an impossible dream, but it's such a DIY aesthetic that I love. Anyone can find a topic that they love and they can connect with anyone around the world and do it.
Yeah, for sure. What's been the biggest learning doing this podcast? Where do you think you've improved the most? Like as a person, do you think it's helped your technical skills or it's made you a better person in any way?
I think in terms of, I've always been a performer. So, I've been involved in sketch comedy, improv groups, done a lot of plays and things like that. But I think just the natural flow of conversation, I think just me being able to listen more, to be completely honest. I think sometimes when in previous time before doing this podcast with my friend, I might have been guilty of, and without realizing it, waiting for someone to finish their thought before I jumped in with my own thought.
Okay.
I think a podcast, to make sure it's entertaining, you have to really rely on the other person. You have to have a natural flow of conversation, and it can go anywhere. And I think being able to roll with that and so I'd say probably just more naturalistic in my conversation, which has carried over to my everyday life.
Now, you mentioned that you were doing skits, comedies. I'm curious to get a bit more in depth in that. Like, because I just finished the comedy course myself. I did.
Really nice.
Yeah, I did a comedy course at the Rubber Chicken, and shout out to the Rubber Chicken if you guys are listening. You guys did an awesome job. So, yeah, so we did a 5-day course, but it's tough though. It's tough to actually make your own material though. And that's what I like.
Yeah.
How do you go about making your own material?
Oh, I just find people who are way funnier than I am and rely on them. Hitch my star to their wagon. No, I've always had it's on my bucket list to do stand-up, maybe even a 5-minute set, but I'm terrified of doing it. So I've always been a sketch performer. So in terms of going about writing our own material, I think it's exactly the same as doing a podcast. It's about relying on your partners and seeing where the conversation goes, seeing where the jokes go. I think I'm not nearly as good at coming up with ideas as I once was. And I think a lot of that too is also I'm just plugged in all the time. I think back when I was writing and performing was around 2011. 2011 to 2016 is when we were active. In Toronto, and we were called the Rocket Scientists, and there were 4 of us. We did a few festivals here and there, and I think I wasn't always on my phone, or I didn't always have an earbud in. So there'd be times where I'd just have to sit with my thoughts, and that's what formed things. Yeah. So I think now just not being, I think just there's so many distractions now that it's very hard for me to kind of come up with stuff. But I'm curious about the Rubber Chicken. Shout out to the Rubber Chicken, like you said. So this episode's brought to you by Rubber Chicken, by the way. Was the course that you did, was it improv? Was it sketch? Was it everything? Like where were you looking? Where was it coming from?
It was, sorry, but that was a bit of a delayed response there. But the Rubber, it was an intensive, it's like an intensive course. You know, they kind of, you have to structure your own jokes. So every night you jump on stage and you practice what you've learned in the day. And the scary, it is pretty intimidating because when you got your final act together, you have to go on stage. Maybe I had a drink or 2 gin and tonic just before I went on stage. Just
liquid courage?
Yeah, just a bit of liquid courage. And, I mean, the audience was pretty nice. So you're not really going to get heckled or anything. So, I mean, you just go with the flow and just practice what you've rehearsed, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So. I think that's a huge thing too. I think a lot of people are terrified of being heckled, and that's rightly so. I mean, that's why I said I've probably will never do stand-up, even though I'd really like to, because there is that, it's so vulnerable. You're out there, you're alone, you're not relying on anyone. But I think people are more supportive than we think. Like you just said, no one will heckle. I think it just takes a special kind of dick to go out there and try to, hey, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go and I'm just going to rag on someone who's trying to achieve their dream.
Yeah, it's a bit of a low blow, isn't it? It's just, you kind of, I don't get it. I don't really get it. But some comedians are really witty with their reply. Like, if someone, your mum said this. Like, I don't know, something like this. People get involved and. But which comedian did I see? I saw I can't remember his name, but he was in a pub in Fairfield, and all he did was just bag the audience. Like he just said, "Oh, you stink, you're fat, or whatever," And he really built up like an energy. Like
mm-hmm.
So then when the next comedian, went on stage.
Oh no.
He I mean, he was an American, so I mean, you can kind of guess where. Nah, I'm just joking. America's cool. It was good. It was just interesting seeing the first comedian, how he was he was able to really gauge the audience, and
yeah, it's all about listening, which is again tying it back to podcasting. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that also just being open to suggestion too, because I mean it's very humbling when you are working with people and when you've got an idea or a joke and you give it to someone and just not being immediately defensive when they say, okay, well, have you thought about this and scrapping this and this could be better? It's not coming from a place where they're trying to, bring you down. You'd hope not. It's more trying to build you up and improve. So yeah, listening is so key.
Yeah, listening is key. Yeah, it's definitely key because you can kind of, you gauge where to go and most definitely. And so what's it like living in Melbourne?
I love it. It's been absolutely amazing. It's very similar to Toronto, which is where I'm from a people perspective, everyone's very, very friendly. The geography is amazing, some amazing pubs, some great food. It's very easy to forget that I'm over 16,000 kilometers away from where I grew up. It's not like, it's a different culture, but a good culture. I think that Canadians and Australians are very similar in the sense that, everyone's open to helping someone out if they need to. We're up for having a good time. We're up for, trying to improve ourselves, make the best of any situation. So, no, I love it here. I mean, there's a reason we were talking a bit off mic, but it was only going to be about 9 months that my wife and I were going to be here. And 4.5 years later, here we are.
Yeah, definitely. But it wasn't all a smooth sailing, though, was it? Because, I mean, you had some... I guess I probably shouldn't bring that into the conversation on air, on live.
We're live. It's all good.
No, we're live. We can't take that back now. So
episode sponsored by the Rubber Chicken. I hope that you're listening. You thought it was just going to be jokes. Now we're getting deep. All right. So it wasn't always smooth sailing.
It wasn't always smooth sailing.
All right.
Way.
Finish your question.
So it wasn't always smooth sailing because you went to buy the property, and the mortgage broker said to you, "Oh, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen?"
Yeah, it was.
I'm probably not telling the story properly, but
no. You hit the bullet points. It's very true. It was. So yeah, 4.5 years. We decided we were gonna buy some property here. It was time to kind of put down some roots. So, we went through all the adult steps of buying a home, which is way more complicated than I thought it was, but I don't know what I thought was going to happen. Yeah. And we met an amazing mortgage broker. She's absolutely amazing. Empire Home Loans, by the way.
Shout out to those guys.
Exactly. Meet at the Rubber Chicken, see a show, and then sign your money away.
Make sure they don't pull your rubber chicken, because when they're pulling your rubber chicken, it doesn't make sense.
But yeah, so she went through all the processes with me, and they, she got to this whole point, and this is going to, a lot of people are dropping off now because I'm going to get into finances, but it's very funny. So she kind of offered us, this is fixed term and this is variable. And I recommend fixed term, is what she said, because you're never going to be able to find a fixed term that's higher than variable rates, because variable rates will never drop below unless a world-changing event happens. And she said this in November 2019. And then 4 months later, the funniest thing happened. But it's okay. It wasn't her fault. She couldn't have predicted it. No one could have predicted what we're in right now.
Yeah, yeah. Just for reference, what's the difference between a variable rate and a fixed interest rate?
So fixed is when they actually say this is what the percentage of interest you're going to pay is. Variable is just based on the market. So they'll say, okay, well, it really goes with the ebbs and flows, so it could change on a monthly basis. And it's just kind of adjusted to what the market's doing. So when the pandemic hit, because no one had any money and because people needed to, keep their mortgages and banks were desperate, they dropped from, I think 4% or so down to 0.3%. I'm probably making those figures up, but it was so drastic that a lot of people were snatching up homes because the mortgage rates were so low. So
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so I mean, it's pretty cool living in Melbourne. I guess, is there any big differences or any differences that you found from Canada to...
Booze is a big one. And I say that in the sense that it's very easy to find alcohol here anytime of the day, any day of the week. I sound like an alcoholic. This is a cool thing to do if you want to have a drink and not be restricted by government laws, which Canada and Ontario specifically have pretty big ones. My wife's from New Zealand, so we met in Toronto, hence why we're here, because we can both work and live freely without having to worry about, just long visa waits or things like that. So, Melbourne's an amazing city. And one of the reasons it's amazing is because when on one of our first dates, when she was coming over and I was cooking dinner, she said, "Is there anything that you need me to get, or what can I help with?" And I said, if you want to just pick up, some beer or some wine, that would be great. And this was Sunday at 5:30 p.m. is when I said this. So she said, sure. And she she came over and she's like, I'm so sorry. She was flustered. She was a bit late. She said, I couldn't get it. Everywhere's closed. Everywhere closes at 6 here. And I said, yeah, that's right, because the government controls all of the liquor stores in Ontario, so you can't get like any type of alcohol to buy anyways for your home past 6 p.m. on Sundays. Everything closes at 9 p.m. It's one government-controlled market, which is one of the reasons we have free healthcare, so I really can't, like, I can't bag on it too much, but in terms of restrictions, like, it's very, you have to plan buying booze around, like, the calendar and like the timings, which is funny.
And what about illegal narcotics? Is that something that's on the market, or is it on the black market, or is it on the red market? I don't know. It
depends on what you. Yeah, so that was also something very funny, is that the drug culture here is, I think, just overall Australia is a bit more conservative than Canada as a whole in terms of opinions, in terms of people's viewpoints on social issues, and on drugs and alcohol. Drugs specifically, because it's very funny, because like I get called a bleeding socialist a lot by like friends affectionately, where I'll just be like, in a joking way, but I think that the perception that Australians have of Canadians is that like we're almost like so left-leaning that we like border on communism. And I think that a lot of people's opinions, Canadians' opinions of Australians, are just like, oh, they're like uptight conservatives and like borderline racist and things, and neither of those things are true, because everyone's different everywhere, right? That being said, to answer your question, pot is very much legal in Canada. Only a couple of years ago, though, so it was unanimously passed, and one of the reasons that Justin Trudeau actually got into government, because he promised to make weed legal, and so everyone who enjoys smoking weed said, that seems like the kind of guy I could get behind, and yeah, he made true to his word, and apparently, like, I think the first month, there still is very much a black market for it, because supply wasn't there for the demand at the beginning, because I don't think the government had the faintest idea how many people would want to buy weed legally, and also, how to cultivate it, all these other things. So there still very much is a market that exists for people who don't want to, one, pay overpriced prices to go, or for if you just don't want to wait, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. That's I mean, look, shout out to marijuana, because it comes with THC, CBD, and now they're extracting the CBD to make that good oil. And I think, yeah, man, it's like it's a mysterious drug. It's something that it kind of gets a grip of you. I mean, it doesn't really get a grip of you, but it's like a spiritual. I don't know. I think what your area is on, what your take is on that.
I think the CBD thing is probably the biggest breakthrough for like the last probably decade, I'd say, in terms of changing the perception. Because like now you look at, and in America, because like so many states have decriminalized or legalized it outright, specifically CBD, because like it feels like every kind of minor or major celebrity now has some sort of CBD line. Like you listen to any type of podcast and they'll talk about like roll-on applications for CBD for pain management. You've got people who are kind of like selling, body oils or like lotions to actually kind of free you up.
Do you use any?
Part CBD, no, I don't think you can get it in Australia. And again, like they didn't really have any of this stuff before I went back.
Okay.
So no, I don't know. Can you get CBD products in Australia? Is it legal?
You can get I don't think it is legal from memory. I could be wrong though. No, it's not legal. And yeah, I feel like there will be a market soon. My wife and I bought shares of a company, right, which was the Canopy Growth Corp, and it was basically a company here that was basically doing medicinal marijuana research. Yep.
And they signed this massive contract with a supplier in BC, and this was 3 years ago. And I remember us being like, "Oh, we should get in on this while it's only $1.75 a share, because it's gonna like balloon up."
What's the share price? What's the name? Sorry.
The Canopy Growth Corporation, and do not look them up because they dropped down to 12 cents a share. So
can we look them up? Just for argument.
You should, because so if you go to AC8 would be the ticker index. So AC8.
AC.
And I just realized I've completely butchered this, so anyone who's listening, I feel very bad.
This is not stock advice at all.
No.
This is just
well, also,
how to get rich. Yeah, we getting rich.
Also,
to the moon. Woohoo!
Step 1, get comedy lessons at the Rubber Chicken.
Let's get into that, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, man. Let's just loosen up a little bit. Let's just kind of get into the flow of things, bro. What is happening, man? Let's throw down a rap, or let's just be silly a little bit. What? 1, 2. Yeah. Can you feel it? I'm going. I brought tea to my beach, cause my beach is better. I'm gonna keep the beach, cause that beach, whatever. I start to have in the coffee. And then I'm one more, get the house, yo, what? Alright. This is turned out to a rap song. Here we go.
That was amazing. Keep going. I don't know why you have
That's all I know. Alright, but
So this guy sends this message on our building Facebook group. That's how we know each other. He's just like, anyone want to come on? Because I have this idea for a podcast where I just want to talk to people and we'll talk about anything. And now I suspect it's to showcase your very stellar rapping skills right there. Just blew me away live on air. That was really good.
We're going to get taken off air for this, but sand is better. I'll just play some music. We're going to get demonetized, but this is Jay-Z. And this is the song that I was just singing in case... I didn't really sing it that well, but...
No, you did an amazing job. But
this is the master. This is the master at work, man. This is what... This is what I took it from. Beach, because the beach is better. I gotta keep the beach. Oh. So we should maybe put on a bit of Bare Naked Ladies, because that's just the. I gotta put a tribute. What's their best?
So 1 week would be the one that everyone probably knows. Like, even if you don't recognize it by the name.
Yeah.
Like, have you heard of 1 week?
No.
Okay, put it in and then play it, and you're probably going to go... I would say there's probably like a 70% chance that you're going to go, oh, this song.
Oh, this song.
So this song alone sold 5 million copies in the US. So this was kind of their breakthrough.
Wow,
Speaking of rapping, Ed Robertson is very good at freestyle rapping. Bert Kaempfer's got the mad hits. You're trying to match wits. You told me how many I bust through.
Whoa,
See, there we go. We both had our own little sequence. I'm glad that progressed so naturally, because when you're like, let's just rap, I was thinking, oh no! Gonna be exposed on the air as a non-rapper.
Yeah, nah, I mean...
But yeah,
this is a pretty good band. Like, so this is like one of their most popular songs.
Yeah, probably their most popular song. Like, this is the song that they're gonna be synonymous with for the rest of their career. It really is kind of like it made it big in the States. They're one of the few acts that have kind of like found mainstream success outside of Canada, but most of that success is because of that one song. So, if that makes sense.
Wait, what movie was that song in? I know that...
It was in American Pie, the very end of American Pie.
Okay, American Pie. Okay.
I only know that because I've watched that. I had the VHS when I was... Remember those kids? When I was in high school, and one of my favorite movies back then.
All right, let's get real. I want to kind of shift gears now, and we're going to go into the spiritual, ethereal world, and I want to ask you the question: do you believe in aliens?
Oh, that's actually very funny, because thinking about American Pie and Blink-182, Tom DeLonge, he loves his aliens. Who is the guitarist of Blink-182? Do I believe in aliens? Okay. Look, I think that I'm skeptical whenever there is footage of aliens or anyone talks about it, and I think that's just me naturally just going, oh yeah, okay. But I don't know why, because I actually do believe that there probably is life out there. I think that it's really narrow-minded to assume that it's a proven fact how big the universe is. Like, you can't get around that. People look at it, astrophysicists, we've seen how insignificant and inconsequential Earth is. So why would we be the only planet or the only thing out there in existence that actually has life?
So you think there is life out
there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think that, they're trying to invade us or,
Do you think they look like this? Do you think they look like that?
I don't believe so. I appreciate... I'd really like to know who came up with this with this design.
The grey aliens?
Yeah, who actually it's so prevalent. Who actually was the first person that said, you know what? It's probably going to be like life outside Earth. Homeboys probably look like this. What? Who came up with that sketch and concept?
Who came up with that sketch? Maybe it's like a Steven Spielberg, because I know Steven Spielberg made a few movies about it. Maybe it's like a conspiracy theory or something. I don't know, man. I don't know enough about it.
He was trying to change the narrative, and then E.T. came out, and they're like, maybe they look like this. And they're like, probably not, but that thing's adorable.
Yeah, he's got that cuteness factor. And, yeah, I think it's, I don't know, for me, I believe that there is life.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be life, because if you look at the I was talking about this with my mate today, and we were talking about, because the universe is so large, of course there's a chance that there's more probable a chance that there's life out there. So, yeah, I mean, but now they're releasing documents about the CIA are releasing documents about that they have contact with aliens.
I know that there's definitely been a lot of declassified documents and things about different types of research and projects that they funded in the past. So there definitely has been government involvement in trying to find life. So it kind of shows that, even the highest personnel is probably like, oh, don't believe in aliens, but if they do exist, we're going to find them first, right? I think it's there was the great race to get to space first, and now it's the great race to find out, what is in space. Which country wants to break it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Absolutely. And so speaking of Canada, I think I'm just going to flick through, because we didn't actually finish the trivia.
Round two. Well, yeah.
We got round two again.
It got really awkward when I couldn't answer a single question.
That's
so
all right, I'll forgive you.
I've had a respite now.
All right. So, which Canadian city has the most tourists?
The most tourists?
Yes.
That's Toronto?
Yeah.
All right, sweet.
Got it. Only one province is officially bilingual. Can you guess which one?
Quebec.
The only province to do so is New Brunswick.
Oh, okay, fine. So it's funny because some of these are I think they're trick questions, and then I'm like, maybe they're not.
Maybe I got it off a dodgy website. I don't know.
No. That makes complete sense because New Brunswick does speak French, but I guess you know what? Yeah, officially bilingual because Quebec, I think its first language is French, so it's not that they. But to be bilingual, both are accepted. So yeah, all right, cool.
And for those playing at home, how do we become bilingual? Is that we speak two languages?
Correct. Yes. So
right.
French is our official. So there's a second language in Canada, and that is French. And I was taught French for 10 years in school.
Yeah, right.
I cannot speak a word of it, and that is not an uncommon story. The way that they teach French, for the most part in Canadian schools, unless you're outside of Quebec or New Brunswick, is you just learn how to write things, but you can't learn how to carry a conversation. So,
yeah, right, okay.
Cannot speak a word of French.
But so what's the history with France? So is it did France actually invade Canada?
No. So Canada originally was founded as a trading post. Okay. So Jacques Cousteau was a French settler, and he discovered it a lot, and then the English came. So it pretty much has always, as a colony and as a trading post, had both French and British ties to it.
Okay.
So then when Confederation happened in 1867, which is when all the provinces and all the different parts of Canada decided to sign, and we said we're going to become a country, that was one of the tipping points, because there were so many French speakers because of Jacques Cousteau and because of that French connection.
Right. What's the cuisine in Canada?
Poutine. Poutine's our national dish, which is cheese curds, gravy, and fries, but it has to be very specific. So I kind of equate it to when I first came to Melbourne, and I kind of said the same thing. I'm like, well, what's the Melburnian dish? What do I have to have? And people said, well, if you're looking at like pub food, you have to have a parma. And I said, okay, and what's that? And they said, well, it's breaded chicken with tomato sauce and cheese on top. I said, so a chicken parmesan. And people said, no, it's not a chicken parmesan, it's a parma. Yeah. As in, like, come on, get your head out of your ass. So I kind of feel the same way with poutine, because, I'll explain it to people like I just did, and they'll say, oh yeah, so like fries and gravy and cheese. And I said, no, you're not listening. It's poutine. It's very specific, because the curds or the cheese actually are very specific pieces that are only from Quebec, and they are made by monks. Like monks in a certain region. So like, how monks brew beer and like wine, and that's like a delicacy around the world. So French Canadian monks make cheese, and these curds are only available in Quebec, and they're illegal to ship anywhere else in the world.
Is that true? Is that real?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
It's because
that's a fun fact.
Because of agriculture and pasteurization laws. So the cheese is actually unpasteurized. So Australia, very, very strict, of course, about agriculture stuff, about what comes into the country. Yeah. So unpasteurized dairy products are going to breed bacteria. So we don't want to fuck with that. So I don't know if we're allowed to swear on this. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're not allowed to mess with this.
No, swear away. I lost what my train of thought. So you're saying that monks actually, so they make the cheese, and I guess like what are they sitting in the monastery and they're just kind of...
It's funny because when you said let's get spiritual and ethereal, you didn't expect me to be like, yeah, monks make cheese in Canada. This is the kind of spirituality I can get behind.
That was a flip in the script. That was a big flip in the script.
I'm gonna butcher this as I'm probably butchering every story. But if anyone who's listening and wants to learn more, because I'm probably gonna give you false facts. But look up poutine. Look up monks. If you type in monks and cheese curds into your Google search.
Let's type it in. Monks and cheese curds.
Unless it's a really weird fetish, and if so, I apologize for your search history. You might have to specify Canada too. Monks and cheese curds, Canada.
All right.
Oka cheese. Might be that. So poutine comes up as the authentic Canadian poutine recipe.
Which one am I going?
Oh, just any of them that have the fries and the cheese and the gravy. But that's essentially what it is, and it's La Belle Province is the main. If you really want to get good poutine, you go to Montreal, you go to Quebec, and you go to a fast food restaurant called La Belle Province. It is the essential of. Well, what's like the go-to drunk food in Melbourne? Would it be
HSP?
HSP, yeah, okay. So HSP and kebabs. So yeah, so that's essentially La Belle Province is the HSP purveyor in Montreal, and it's so bad in the sense that it's actually amazing, because we always say that like the worst poutine in Montreal is probably better than the best poutine anywhere else in the world. So
it looks delicious, man. It's like
it's so good.
I think you put bacon in there as well. You do? Or is that so? So it's just the cheese, the gravy, and
the cheese curds, the gravy, and the fries. Yeah, that's right. So, and these cheese curds are specific because they don't melt over the gravy. So you put hot gravy on it, but they keep their consistency.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So that's why it's like.
That's an interesting dish. Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of people will say to me, and okay, I love the B East. I have to shout out, like, we're actually only a couple of blocks away from our apartment building. Amazing institution in Melbourne, in Brunswick East. Good burger joint. A lot of people will say to me, "Oh, have you had the poutine at the B East?" And you know what? If they just change their menu and just put fries and cheese and gravy, I could get on board, because it's not poutine, man. Like it's already bad in my heart. It's delicious, but it's not the same thing. So,
what's your go-to burger at Beast?
East? Probably a double classic. Double classic is my mainstay. I do like the Ron Swanson.
Okay.
It's quite good, but a double classic is I I don't know, it just hits me right here. It's just very good. What about, do you go to the Bee East a lot?
I haven't been for a while. I had a cheeseburger from there a long time ago, and look, it's good, and I tend to go with the grilled burgers. So I'm not sure if you had a grilled burger.
I have. They're quite good actually, and now they've remarketed themselves as healthy burgers, so that makes me feel better.
Yeah, so you feel better once you eat some, and
I'm a sucker for marketing. You tell me something's true, I'm gonna believe it. So
yeah, for sure. Definitely. And sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, going back to something, talking about sucker for marketing, I gave some false information for any of you who are following this along for stock tips. I don't know if you have a lot of people who go on the stock market, but so Canopy Growth Corp is actually a Canadian weed company that's doing quite well. The money that I foolishly invested, the company I foolishly invested money into was called OzCan Holding Limited. And Christian just brought it up, and they're at 11 cents a share now. So
yeah, right. I hope it's gone up in price. I mean,
not when I bought it, that's for sure. But maybe in 5 to 10 years. I think. Do you think? Well, here's a question. We'll go back, and I'm flipping it to you. Do you think that weed will ever be legal in Australia? Do you think the country can? Because we talked about being liberal, we talked about being conservative.
It's already legal in a few states.
Is it?
Is it? Look. To be honest, I'm not sure if it is.
And New Zealand doesn't count as a state, as my wife would say, who is from New Zealand.
It's illegal in New Zealand?
No, not really. I think it's... I feel very bad because your search history is going to be so weird after I leave. So many weird things happen.
Yeah, I'm going to have the NSA or
Yeah, because cheese curds are illegal. I'd be worried about the cheese curds, to be honest. It's like this guy wants to import some curds.
Oh man, this is a lot of reading here. That's all right. Let's just assume, for argument's sake, that it is legal, right?
That can get a lot of people into a lot of trouble. Yeah. Don't assume anything's legal. I can't stress that enough.
All right. We don't want to assume it's legal, but what was the question again? You're asking.
Oh no, I was just saying. So your go-to at the Bee East, and then we flipped around to OzCan Holdings, and we can bring it around to cheese again, because I will say that you've been asking me a lot of questions about Canada. Canada Day is next week, which is exciting. So Thursday, July 1st. So we're gonna be Canada's gonna be celebrated a lot.
What does Canada Day entail for you?
It's the So here's the thing.
What does it mean for you?
It just means. It's a tricky thing because recently, and I'm going to actually get kind of serious, fortunately, but there's been a recent discovery of bodies at an Aboriginal school, an old residential school in British Columbia. So this was discovered a couple of months ago of 215 children. So Canada's history with Aboriginal people is complicated and very bad. Basically, there are First Nations people, when settlers came to Canada, they took the children away from the families, put them into these reform schools, these residential schools, and taught them the ways of Europeans. So it was very much about you're speaking English now. This is your God. Your family are savages, and it's only recently that the government's made apologies for these schools. And 2 months ago, yes, there was a mass grave discovered of children, which means that there were atrocities committed at these schools. This isn't something that's recently happened, but they have discovered this. So it's just another painful chapter in Canada's history. So right now, there's a bit of a boycott on Canada Day celebrations. People are not refusing, but just kind of saying, well, we don't want to celebrate the history of Canada right now when, a lot of people are kind of thinking, oh, this is what the government's done, etc. But for me in Australia, Canada Day is about feeling like I'm at home. This is my home, but I think that I don't think you ever feel as much national pride.
Country,
you'll never feel as much national pride as you will than when you live somewhere else. And I think that Canada Day is a day, at least in Australia. I usually go to the Wharf Hotel down in the CBD. They do a massive Canada Day party, and it feels like every single person who's Canadian who's living in Melbourne comes down for it. So it's just playing Canadian tunes, eating food, drinking beer. It's a really good time, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, awesome, man. Shit, dude. Yeah, that's really cool. And I mean, it definitely takes a toll. And we're gonna chuck on a bit of music here, man. Just pick up the beat a little bit.
I know. I really just put a huge downer on the podcast. I'm sorry.
No downers at all. We're here to just chill out, have a bit of fun. And speaking of chilling out, I want to just kind of broadcast that I'm helping people with live streaming and podcasting. So if you ever need any hands, I don't know, making a live stream, I can help you with that. So you can scan the QR code on the bottom right of the screen, and that'll help you get you to where you should be going. So
I can attest to this. This guy is a professional. Christian has an amazing setup right now. He's been nothing but on the ball. It's been really good. I came into his apartment. He has sacrificed his bedroom. This is how much of a professional this man is. I walked in. His bedroom has been converted into a podcast studio. He's sleeping out in the living room. For the love of God, someone like vindicate this man and his passion. Scan that QR code and come up here. Help. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I'll give the audience a bit of a background story. So I put out a Facebook message. We've already discussed this in the podcast, but we'll discuss it again.
For those of you just tuning in.
For those of you that are just tuning in, we've just kind of raised the energy. So I mean, it's like I put out a Facebook message on Facebook. Who wants to do a podcast? And it's a bit of an awkward message. You know what I mean? Like, people don't really know you, and I'm like, you know what? Stuff it. I'll put a message out. And this is like an episode at the Christian Buddy Show that I'm in my studio. I'm actually doing the work that, I put up the curtain on this thing here. I mean, I'm kind of talking myself up, but essentially, I'm blessed and I'm grateful, and I'm happy that I'm able to make impacts in different people's lives. And I think it's about giving back. Man, give back to charity. Do something positive for society. Pick up that trash on the floor. Like, you pick up things on the floor that shouldn't be there. I mean, I guess it's just a message of positivity and just sending out good vibes. So, yeah. Do you have anything to add on the back up to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of positivity, thank you so much. I'm honored that I'm the first guest in your studio. So that means a lot. So yeah, absolutely. And take a chance, everyone. Christian could have been a serial killer. I could have been a serial killer, but here we are together. And neither of us has murdered the other person yet. So
I was going to kill him when he walked in, but I didn't really do that. But
then he saw how tall I was, and he's like, this
guy's a tall guy, man. Can you stand up on the camera? Maybe you can see how.
I'm just going to make sure that my fly's done up, because I feel like if I stand up, it's just going to be my crotch exposed. And then you can just describe the rest.
So this is like a live stream gone candid. All right, here we go. Man, you're almost hitting the roof, man.
So I imagine you're just like, oh man, I don't have enough tarps to dispose of that body. So, but yeah, no, just faith. So yeah, no.
What is your actual height? What is your
6'5"? So.
Did you play So that's why you asked me if I played basketball, because tall people, that's a stereotype. Like, tall people always play basketball.
I get asked if I play basketball all the time, and the answer is no. I am very uncoordinated. I got very tall very quickly at a young age, and that just meant that I was, tripping all over myself. So there was very little grace. I'm a massive NBA fan. My wife it's funny, my wife's from New Zealand, and she's the one who got me into my own basketball team, the Toronto Raptors.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to kind of ask you a bit more about your relationship, and you met it's your wife?
Yes.
Are we able to speak about your relationship on air?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
How long are you married, or are you?
So we're married. It'll be 5 years this July, actually. So yeah, 5-year wedding anniversary coming up, which is exciting.
And did you met in Australia?
We met in Toronto on Tinder. It works, people. Sometimes, depending on what you're after.
I think, yeah. I mean, all the best to you, but it hasn't worked. It hasn't really worked. I mean, I'm not a fan of Tinder, but yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But So you guys have been to and you're already married. What other questions am I missing here? What are the normal marriage questions?
The normal marriage questions.
Because I feel like I'm missing out on some detail. Like, what is there any other detail that I'm missing out on?
We got married in Las Vegas. That was kind of cool. So that was a fun. I guess that's
Can
just
I
like our fun, interesting fact.
So what and maybe explain for the audience. Maybe did you get married at a shotgun chapel?
So we got married at a shotgun chapel, but we reserved the shotgun chapel in advance, which I feel is probably a new thing to them. We need to get married in a couple of months, but we're going to come to you. We got married at the little white wedding chapel, which is where Britney Spears married her first husband.
Wow.
It's where Dennis Rodman married Carmen Electra. And it's where Chris married my wife. So that's it. That's... I'm not going to say her name on air just in case, but yeah.
For those people, can you explain what a shotgun chapel is?
So, in Vegas, a lot of people get drunk and they'll say, let's go get married, because Vegas has a very quick turnaround time for marriage licenses. And there's a number of wedding chapels in the Nevada desert off the Las Vegas Strip that you can get married within half an hour. You can drive through some weddings. There is a drive-through section of that. You can get Elvis to marry you if you're an Elvis fan.
What if I want chicken McNuggets?
If you want chicken McNuggets, there is a McDonald's that is conveniently located right near the Little White Wedding Chapel, and both are open 24 hours a day. So,
and what's Las Vegas like? Because it's always kind of painted as this, it's all where all, Conor McGregor, all these big superstars go to, whatever. I don't know what they do there, but...
Well, if you're Conor McGregor, you make a lot of money for, beating people up, which is not what I did. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Las Vegas is really trippy. It's you drive if you're not flying there. So the way that I got there first is that I went on a road trip with my future in-laws, who I'd never met before, actually, which was kind of exciting. So we got engaged. My wife and I, she went back to New Zealand for a little bit. We met in California, and then we embarked on a road trip to get to Vegas for our shotgun wedding, quote unquote. First time I'd ever met my mother-in-law, first time I'd ever met...
First time you've ever met your mother-in-law?
Was getting in a van after they picked me up at the airport in LA. And then we went on a road trip. It was a very intense and very quick bonding experience. But my mother-in-law is absolutely amazing. My wife's whole side of that family is amazing. I love my brother-in-law, love my mother-in-law, love my mother-in-law's partner. So it could have gone very wrong, but they were so loving and so accepting. But we did this whole road trip through the desert, so it's nothing but just heat and sand and cacti, and you're just driving through it, and there's no signs of life. And then you go down a hill arbitrarily, and as you're coming up, boom, there's just a whole bunch of buildings, flashing lights. It just really comes out of nowhere, and it's a really cool feeling. And then Vegas is just, I know a lot of people are kind of underwhelmed, but I think it's just because it's been built up in their head so much, this is where everything happens. It's where, Conor McGregor goes to fight. It's where all these crazy stories happen. But it's one of my favorite places on earth because I got married there. So, it's always going to have a special place in my heart there. But if you don't try to make too hard of a time of it, if you're actually genuinely there and you're not trying to look for a good time or try to make something more, just go with the flow, and you're gonna have a great experience. Have you ever been to America?
No, I have not. Yeah, it's on the bucket list, definitely. Yeah,
start with Vegas. Go big or go home.
Yeah, go bigger. Yeah, absolutely. What would be some good places to go to in America? What do you recommend? New
York. New York's absolutely amazing. One of my favorite places. I've got a deathly phobia of rats, though, so I can only spend a couple of days at a time there because they're everywhere.
Is that so? Is it like a coronavirus? Is it bad in New York, or what's the situation?
So one of my best friends lives in New York full time now. He works for Google, and I don't think he's left his house for about 7 or 8 months or so. So it's getting better, but it was a huge hotspot. I think it's just like anywhere in the world. The more people there are, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So New York's a big one. Vegas is absolutely up there. I personally loved Chicago. Chicago's a beautiful city to visit.
Yeah.
So yeah, Those are the places. Visit Canada first, though. Canada's really cool.
Canada's, yeah.
I don't know a lot about it, apparently, according to that trivia.
But what's the gun laws in America? Because in Canada, because I know that. Do you have similar gun laws to Australia, or?
No, ours are kind of in between America and Australia. Australia, I know that you can't own firearms recreationally. Yeah. You can in Canada, but the registry and the laws involved in purchasing a gun are very strict and very stringent. There's a lot of background checks you have to do. There's a lot of red tape you have to go through. The police will actually check up on your family every month and just do a courtesy call to make sure that everything's good for anyone who owns firearms. So very different from the States that way. My dad's a hunter and collected firearms. He since has stopped at this stage, but I grew up around firearms my entire life. So, and I went to the range. I used to shoot a lot when I was younger. So I've kind of seen what responsible gun ownership is. So I know that the system works if people want to actually not abuse that, right? So, but no, in the States it's broken. So I think Canada's got a good system. Some guns can still get on the street, definitely, and fall through the cracks, as with anywhere in the world. But yeah, I respect the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And what equipment? This is a bit of an off-random topic, but what equipment were you using on your podcast?
Not nearly as cool of a setup as this is. I'm very blown away by this.
Thank you.
This is amazing. I love this. I've never heard my voice through headphones because I don't monitor that way. So ours is actually like really bare bones compared to yours. Okay. So because my partner is in Canada, we use Zoom. We will each record our own audio on Audacity. Yeah. For the file, I will do a backup of the Zoom audio recording. And then he and I both have just a Rode external Motu device. So just a USB kind of sound card that connects. And I just use a SM58 microphone into that. And that's it.
So, wait, can I just write that down? Do you mind if I write it down?
Oh, of course. I feel like that's a massive downgrade for what you've got, though. This is great.
This is not going to come on here. Let's just... Actually, let's skip that. That's fine.
We can do that off the air if you want.
We can do that off the air. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's worked. It's worked quite well for us, which is good. But yeah, we don't. And then everything's just kind of done in post edit. So the system that you've got here is absolutely amazing, and the way that you're driving the board, the sound effects, things like that.
It's hard to. But the only problem is it's hard to engage the guest. Like I feel like because I'm kind of constantly checking what's happening here. I'm like distracted and I'm trying to talk to you at the same. It's not good to I can't multitask. Is what I'm saying. That's what I'm effectively saying.
No. You've done a great job so far. I've found it very engaging, and it's also very cool. And this might just be me from like a nerdy perspective, and because I also do a podcast, but kind of seeing how you're running everything is also very cool as well. So,
thank you.
So I like it a lot. But yeah, it really is just and I kind of enjoy the freedom of this because it's flying by the seat of your pants. Whereas the post edit of our podcast, we'll record an hour and a half footage, and it takes about 2 weeks to edit it down. Yeah. Like it's tough and it's meticulous and it's fun, but it's so strained in terms of that. So because this is your first one live, but like did you do, because you've done a number of podcasts as well, like did you do them all pre-recorded or were those all live as well?
So the first 20 I was doing pre-recorded, and then the last 30 or so was all live.
And did you edit those 20 yourself afterwards?
So I hired a virtual assistant.
Oh, cool.
And I realized that I was wasting money when I should have just been doing... I guess I wasn't... Yeah, I was spending money that I didn't really have. So I was just being a bit
A lot of people
careless.
did that in lockdown.
Yeah, so being a bit careless. But yeah, I mean... Now this is kind of the return of the podcast, and I was off podcasting for about 4 weeks. Kind of going through some personal things in my own life, and now I'm kind of coming back, and yeah, I'm just happy to kind of speak to you tonight and have you on the show, and I think we might put a pin in it because we've been going for about an hour now. So
Oh, that's fantastic. You know, I was going to actually try to find a way to vamp and be like, all right, now I'm going to get you to talk a lot because I have to pee very bad.
well,
What a way to put a pin on it that way.
we are going to put a pin on it, and I'll get a final farewell. Any final messages to the people at home, CJ? You've got the stage right now. Let's go.
Anyone who's in our building group, I'm not going to shout it out for privacy reasons, but Christian's a good guy. So, I mean, I've got literally nothing to talk about, and so there's probably way more interesting people in our building. So come into his amazing studio.
Come on in.
Check out his bedroom / living room. This guy is dedicated. It's great. And I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. Peace and love. Thank you.